to kick things off, Gavin, while we wait for a few more comrades to trickle in, I wanted to throw this up on screen here in 1 second, because I think we're finally approaching the find out stage, right? We were in the fuck around stage for a good long while with a lot of these bro comics, right? They were happy go lucky. They were happy to see their number go up, 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 up every time they praised Donald Trump, every time they had Donald Trump on their show and kissed his ass. They were happy to collect all of those checks, right? That was the fuck around period, right? And I think now a lot of those same MAGA adjacent podcast bros are approaching the find out stage of what happens when you uplift the fascist wannabe dictator into the office of presidency, and how that's going to be used in ways that impact you as well.
Yeah, 100%. Let's take a look at Mr. Theo Von clapping back at the DHS for using his likeness and little video clip in one of their stupid freaking, rage bait shorts. So that's pretty interesting. But before we get into his specific comments, Zach, I do totally agree. I think that these comedians, not only are they starting to become uncomfortable with some of the shit that Trump is doing, specifically with the Kimmel thing, because let's be honest, even though Theo Von is obviously, this is about the immigration and the deportation thing, what all these people from Rogan to Theo Von just watched was a fellow comedian. Even if they think Jimmy Kimmel is cringe and shit, he still is a comedian. He's in the same line of work as them. So they took that personally. In addition to that, I think they're probably feeling the heat from their audience as Trump just becomes less cool now that he's actually president. He's not some like scrappy insurgent anti-establishment candidate anymore. Now he's the freaking president and he's covering up the Epstein scandal. What's cool about being associated with that in a positive way?
Oh, 100%. You're so right to point out that comedians are a tribal bunch, right? They're kind of like bartenders in that way. They have like a secret handshake, secret club for all these guys. They really respect each other. When Will Smith got up on stage at the Academy Awards and slapped the shit out of Chris Rock, every comedian across the political spectrum came out and was like, are you fucking kidding me? Fuck you. I can't believe you did that. He was making a joke. You showed up. You've made plenty of jokes about people. How dare you put your hands on him for being a comedian and doing his job? That was the universal take from all comedians, from the most woke comedians all the way to the least woke comedians, like Jimmy Dore, the bottom of the barrel washed up hacks. They were all up in arms about that. They were like, we have to draw a line in the sand for comedy, right?
Like, this is a hate crime against comedy.
Exactly. So you're so right that they're all outraged and they're motivated and spurred to resist a little bit because of what happened to Jimmy Kimmel. And Theo Von says, yo, DHS, I didn't approve to be used in this. I know you know my address, so send a check. And please take this down and please keep me out of your banger deportation videos. When it comes to immigration, my thoughts and heart are a lot more nuanced than this video allows. Bye. And then in response to this getting a lot of attention, DHS did take the video down, but not before your boys at the Vanguard could save it for the show.
Heard you got deported, dude. Bye.
Just bragging about ruining people's lives. Also, they don't understand tone at all in the MAGA movement, because this is sympathy-inducing music that they've put.
Well, that's the joke.
Oh, I see. Okay.
This is supposed to be kind of like a parody of one of those like, sort of ASMR like reels or shorts you see, but it's like flipping the joke on its head, because instead of being like super positive and uplifting, it's bragging about deporting people. So I think that's intentional.
It didn't work for me. Maybe I'm just a fucking idiot, but I was like, what the hell? This is like, I'm just feeling sad for these people.
No, it's also just supposed to be provocative. So, yeah. That's the point. It's just supposed to piss off liberals. But I continue to think this is a kind of stupid strategy. These like weird rage bait troll posts online when it comes to stuff like deportation, because even the people that support the mass deportations, I sometimes see them even in the comments being like, hey, this is a bad look. Like, we actually should be taking this seriously, like border security or whatever. Like, this is a serious thing. And they almost kind of feel like those kind of posts just make a joke out of it or something. Like the people that actually really think it's a serious issue, they're like, this, we actually care about this. It's not just like we care about this to trigger the libs or whatever. So I think it's a misreaction. I think some people definitely fuck with it. Obviously, there's a lot of trolls on X. There's a lot of bots on X that amplify garbage like this to make it look more popular than it is. But I don't know. I mean, obviously, some MAGA is just so sociopathic and sick that they probably get a kick out of it. But I have seen some people, even that are hardcore Republicans, that are like, this is too far, if for no other reason than it makes our side look unserious.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly, it'll make you emotional watching that. I mean, 2 million people, you got to think about it, right? Arrowhead Stadium. This is what I always do whenever, because, there's that old Stalin thing, like one death is a tragedy, a million's a statistic. That happens to us all the time now because we're constantly overrun with information. The scale of suffering globally is so immense that when we're, shown 2 million people, it's really hard to grasp the amount of suffering that is. But Arrowhead Stadium feels like what? Not even 75,000 people. So you're talking about 100 times that. You know what I mean? That's insane. Is that the right math? Something crazy like that. You know what I mean? Just tons and tons and tons of people who have had their lives shattered. They don't know when they're going to see their kids again. They don't know when they're going to see their mom and dad again. They don't know when they're going to be able to be reunited with their community, which is such an essential fabric of life and something that conservatives often try and remind people of, right? So it's just really sickening to watch that. Kind of crushes you. And I don't, I'm not surprised, I should say, that Theo Von didn't want to be associated with it, but I do think he's kind of reaping what he sowed a little bit. This is a guy that thoroughly and passionately endorsed Donald Trump for president. When Donald Trump was calling immigrants people who poisoned the blood of the nation, when he was spreading hateful lies, bigoted lies, violence-inducing lies, like, oh, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, trying to dehumanize Haitian immigrants that came to this country seeking a better life. He says, congratulations, real Donald Trump, Robert Kennedy, and J.D. Vance and your team. And thank you, Dana White, for helping podcasts contribute to the political landscape. Never would have ever happened without you. We invited all the candidates, but only 3 showed up. And then
LOL.
Play this really quick.
I want to thank some people real quick. I want to thank the Nelk boys, Aiden Ross, Theo Von, Bustin' with the Boys, and last but not least, the mighty and powerful Joe Rogan.
Oh my God. So disgusting. So disgusting. Ugh.
And then he clarifies down here. He says, well, thanks, dude. Yeah, I just can't believe it. I got to talk with all these political people, but it's really interesting. Bobby Kennedy has been a friend of mine for years, so I'm very happy for him. So he was deep, deep in MAGA land. He was instrumental, according to Dana White, one of the big top donors to Donald Trump's reelection campaign, one of the faces of it, saying, hey, we couldn't have done it without you. Getting referenced by name in the victory speech of one of Donald Trump's top donors, man, you're just kind of reaping what you sowed. You're in your find out stage of the fuck around and find out.
Yep, 100%. Can we put Theo's latest tweet back up on screen? The one
sure.
where he's kind of turning on Donald Trump finally, and he's like, I don't want to be associated with this, savage indecency. Like this is beneath my humanity. And as you point out, Zach, he was literally already on Team Trump while Trump was out there smearing Haitian migrants, talking about how they were eating animals and pets and shit like that. This guy had nothing to say about it then. He had no protest. He seemingly was just like, hell yeah, let's go. But now that the dude is in power and is still doing that shit, I think a big part of it is that these people, like when Trump himself says or does something, they give it a pass because like, oh, it's Trump. Like he's a crazy guy. He's an entertainer. He's a reality TV dude. He says crazy shit off the cuff. But when you see that style of humor and that cruelty completely disassociated with Trump and just posted from the DHS account, I think that makes it feel different to people like Theo Von, who, again, for whatever reason, can mentally square it when it's Trump who does it, because they have all these excuses for Trump, and they're like, that's just Trump being Trump. He shoots from the hip. He triggers the lips. But again, when you just see this random post from the DHS that's since been deleted, again, it just feels so cruel, and it also feels a little bit removed from Trump. It's not Trump's voice delivering it. It doesn't have his sense of humor attached to it. It just feels like it was cooked up by some staffer who's trying to piss people off by being as cruel and evil as possible. And at that point, Theo's like, all right, I don't want to be associated with that, which is interesting from a psychological level. And honestly, at this point, to the likes of Theo Von and Joe Rogan, the only thing you can really do to even try to save your credibility is just to straight up come out here, apologize to your audience, apologize to your listeners, say, hey, I misled you guys. I fell for the trap. I fell for this ruse. I pushed it on you. I shouldn't have, talked about what I didn't really understand. Not that I would forgive them, but all this shit is just embarrassing because it makes it seem like what? You didn't know what you were signing up for? You didn't know what Trump was all about, even though he was talking about the eating the dogs, the eating the cats. come on, bro. This just makes you look like a coward.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think a big part of it is that he's still a little bit too prideful to admit that he took the bait, right? I think Rogan's still a little too prideful to admit that he took the bait. But what you hit on that I think is really important there is the fact that something that is essential to Theo Von's identity, something that is essential to a guy like Joe Rogan's identity, is being skeptical of the government. Right?
Yeah.
Being skeptical of the amorphous people in charge, right? That is something, because Theo Von's a lot older than people realize. I think he's like almost 50 years old, right? So
crazy.
He's like, Cold War era guy. Like he still got to grow up in the 80s.
That's so weird. I feel like he's like a few years older than us.
Right, but he's a lot older, and that's part of his shtick, is being like the dumb college guy forever. Same as Bert Kreischer, except Theo Von looks a lot younger than Bert Kreischer, so it's less humiliating.
I can believe Bert Kreischer's like a dad, though. He kind of gives me like dad energy, where Theo Von reminds me like someone we would hang out with.
Oh, for sure. But I just meant their comedy style of I'm a grown-up frat boy is like, in different directions, because he's like swamp country and the other dude's Florida U country. Either way, I think that the fact that this is now the government, it's a lot harder for them to spin it in their brain like this is the outsider shaking it up. Like, oh, I just want to fuck shit up, dude. Like, I'm tired of the establishment. I'm tired of the deep state. And it's like, you idiot piece of shit. I'm sorry to be so blunt with you, but you damn fool. Donald Trump is the establishment, just like he was the establishment the last time he spent 4 years being president, and he didn't do fuck all of the things you said he was going to do that time, right? But you all wiped the slate clean for some reason, and that's what's really crazy about all these people. And if we get into this Tim Dillon clip here in a second, I think it really shows, he's going to talk about how the Donald Trump administration views all of their supporters like children, like little kids that you could just distract with shiny objects. But that's actually how I think Tim Dillon feels about his own audience, right? He treats them like children in a different way, because Tim Dillon was smart enough to know that all of this shit was on the table if Donald Trump became president. You cannot bullshit me and convince me that he didn't know, oh my gosh, Donald Trump was actually going to do all of this shit. Jesus Christ. No, he made the calculation that it wasn't going to impact him and that he was going to get his bread buttered in the meantime, the same way that he said that he was going to take the Saudi money, but I'm just going to, not watch my tongue and not, bother to say, like, that's exactly what he did. He was like, I'm going to play ball as much as I can. But he had such little respect for his audience. He has such little respect for the MAGA movement, just like Donald Trump does, which he's going to try and criticize here.
Yep. Let's take a look at this one. I haven't seen it yet. But yeah, Tim Dillon recently freshly fired from the Riyadh Comedy Festival, but he still got away with his down payment, which I thought was hilarious. I was like, you know what? Now I can't blame you, because you not only criticized the Saudi Arabian government and made jokes about it, and you got paid for them, but you didn't actually have to go there and fucking do the shit. So that was kind of a glorious, happy ending.
Yeah, he made that Instagram post where he's got like, I'm going to donate this to a really special charity. No, I'm not. I'm buying a new car. And I was like, you fucking... Oh, wait, shit.
People familiar with their conversation said. I mean, one of these issues is the Kimmel writers' room is a monolith. I don't think there's anybody in there that voices any alternative opinion here and says maybe we should slow down with this. Again, not a reason for the government to get involved and for the president to be threatening other late night hosts. But there's an element of the right wing that wants this stuff to keep going on. And it's because they felt culturally powerless for a very long time.
LOL.
And they want...
The shit is so annoying too. Like, Fox News is literally the #1 fucking cable news channel, and it's not even fucking close. They have way more cultural relevance than MSNBC. They have way more relevance than CNN or ABC or any of these other stupid fucking networks that people like this claim are left wing. So this whole excuse like, oh, like this was just a reaction to conservatives not having enough representation on TV. It's like Fox News is political TV. That is the main fucking channel.
Deadass.
These institutions to kind of bend the knee to the president. And it's happened in other countries. People bring up Hungary and Viktor Orban and all that stuff. Obviously, people like Putin. Nobody wants to live in a country where a late night comedian is, subject to removal.
Bro, what if this happened to me now, guys? What if this happened to me? A late night comedian? How different from that as a YouTuber?
Because he says something that the president of the United States doesn't like. Also, here's a sidebar. Is Jimmy Kimmel the deep state? You know, well, Tulsi Gabbard goes out, who I like, but she goes out and goes, you know, Obama's guilty of treason. And they don't really present a ton of evidence. And then they just drop it and they move on. And then they go, well, this guy and that guy and this guy and that guy. And then the Epstein files, they all vote to not release them. And then they go, well, Jimmy Kimmel, let's get him out of here.
I also think that the Epstein
And
thing is like huge. Like it can't be understated, the impact it's had on this space. And I talked about that at the time when we had people like Andrew Schultz out here, like, oh, I don't want to defend this. And I said, like, I can't see a lot of these people just sticking around as like full-fledged Trump supporters in the wake of the Epstein cover-up. I see that, I see that having come true. A lot of these people, they constantly have to reference the Epstein stuff. They have to dance around it, and seemingly they don't feel prepared to defend it at all. I think that was a huge problem. I think that is a huge problem for Trump with a lot of these people that are like, they aren't hardcore MAGA, but they were more than willing to join MAGA in this latest election cycle. But now they're like, ugh, I didn't realize the extent of his Epstein connection.
Oh, yeah. And not only that, Tim Dillon built his fucking career on the back of being an early skeptic of Jeffrey Epstein. I feel like a lot of people in our audience might not know that. I know you're familiar with it because you and I go back to the origin of Tim Dillon when he was making the Meghan McCain, The View parody videos on Instagram. Joe Rogan blew this guy up. But one of the first things on his podcast that became really, really popular was he would talk about, yes, the Epstein scandal, but he would also talk about this other child molestation ring called the Franklin scandal, which we know about because it happened in Boys Town, Omaha. And there's this really interesting book. I don't know how much of it is true or fake, but it's by this guy named Nick Franklin that Tim Dillon used to interview, right? And he would have Whitney Webb on, and they would talk about all these robust conspiracy theories. And he was very, very early into the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, and he never connected it to Donald Trump. He was far more interested in connecting it to people like Les Wexner and like all these big, powerful, Jewish people, right? That was his agenda. That was what he was doing. He was not connecting it to Donald Trump. But then over time, it became undeniable that it was that Donald Trump was all over this Jeffrey Epstein file. So he's caught in a catch-22 situation where so much of his audience wants to hear about the Epstein files, but also he wants to keep his proximity to Trump. He wants to keep his proximity to other Trump podcasters and people in his audience who are diehard loyal MAGAs.
Yep, 100%. But yeah, the Epstein thing, it can't be understated. Like, again, maybe your MAGA Meemaw, grandma doesn't fucking care about it or something. But as far as like the podcast sphere, which again is constantly held up as a reason why Donald Trump won the fucking election, including by Dana White in that clip. Shout out to the Nelk boys. Shout out to Theo Vaughn. Yeah. I do think it's going to hurt Trump if he ever has to, go through another Democratic election again, obviously. These people I think it's going to be a lot tougher for them to really support Trump again with this Epstein stuff, which again is infuriating because we already knew that Trump was deeply implicated in the Epstein files. And I'm guessing a lot of these people did too, like Tim Dillon. But they were just able to kind of like pretend that didn't exist. Now it's in everyone's face. Now it's like impossible to deny. And it's just, increasingly something that these guys don't want to have to defend. Who would want to defend this shit? Specifically, if you've been talking about the cabal of, child predators, elitists, lizard people, all that kind of stuff. Like even Joe Rogan the other day, he was like, oh, when Trump's out of power and the lizard people, elitists, it's like that is Donald Trump and his crew. Like they are the fucking like child, abusing lizard people elites. That is Donald Trump and his cohort. But yeah, either way.
And, Steve Bannon's got a documentary with 20 hours about Epstein. We'll release that. You got all these hours. Nobody over there, they all think you're really, really dumb. And they're treating you the way you treat a young child who wants something that they're not going to get. You try to distract them with other things. You can see, I don't have kids. I'm around people that have kids all the time, and they'll go, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then you go, hey, what about this? Take a look at that. Isn't this cool? Look, a dog. This is that. This is that. I mean,
what drives me crazy about this is 100% his analysis in this moment is dead on. What I don't respect and what I cannot accept from him is the fact that he somehow didn't know this was the plan all along, right? We all have referenced for months and months and months leading up to the election, oh gosh, they're going to flood the zone. That's what Steve Bannon's entire plan was. Flood the zone, do a bunch of crazy shit, take people's eye off the ball. You can't focus on anything because so many things are happening, right? That's always been Donald Trump's strategy for getting himself out of hot water. Like, just move on. The media cycles fast. Stay up, keep your head up, deny, keep moving forward, deny. That's always been his plan. And I know for a fact Dillon was around for the first era, the 2016 to 2021 Trump. He was here for that. He was on Joe Rogan's show the night that Donald Trump lost to Joe Biden when Kyle Kalinske was on there. He's followed this entire thing. He knew exactly what Donald Trump's playbook was going to be. And now he's acting as shocked as the audience, right? He's saying, oh, Donald Trump thought you were so dumb. That's why he's treating it like, yeah, Tim, why don't you go ahead and confess to everything and be like, I thought you were really dumb too. And I thought we were going to be able to turn this thing around and I was going to be able to rake in a bunch of cash, build up my audience, and nothing really bad was going to happen.
Yeah, and I think that's the worst part about all of this. Like, it's not like the progressives who got tricked by Obama and then like a year or two into Obama's presidency, they're like, fuck, he's just like all the other Democrats. Here we go again with another Bill Clinton type, right? Whatever. This isn't the same thing as that because Trump had already had a fucking term. He'd already been in power once, and that term concluded with him attempting to commit sedition on a mass scale and take over the country, end American democracy by sending his fucking brown shirts into the Capitol to fucking, kidnap politicians, kill them, and take over our country. Like, not to be sensationalist, but that's literally what happened.
Literally what happened.
Yeah. And now people like this want to act like, what? We had no idea who Donald Trump actually was. Bitch, he was president. I was fucking like, it wasn't that long ago. I was an adult when that was going on. When Trump's first fucking term was, I was in like college and shit, but I was still like an adult, Oh,
yeah.
You're way older than me, bro. Stop acting like, oh, what? Huh? I don't know who this guy is. Like, I had no idea he was capable of this. I can't believe how he's treating his supporters. Bitch, this is so infuriating. It's so fucking annoying.
And again, you've pointed it out a lot. They never directly criticized Trump. He's going to try and pin almost all of this on Kash Patel.
Patel is walking around,
oh my God,
like the most compromised person on earth. If Kash Patel is not afraid of something, I don't know what fear is. These people are running around. They're going to unmask everything and expose everything and whatever. Again, I wasn't the one who ran on that premise. They were. And
you just doggedly supported him.
None of that has happened. In fact, whatever cover-up's going on, they're extending it. They've now become a part of it. They are helping facilitate it. Every comment under everything these people post is, what the fuck are you doing? Speaking of a 7-Eleven, I don't think Kash Patel could solve a robbery at a 7-Eleven without fucking it up, by the way. The guy's the head of the FBI.
I thought he was going to make a racist joke about how Kash Patel should be working at a 7-Eleven or something. I was like, damn, bro.
I know.
That's brutal.
I was like, wow, MAGA podcasts are really regressed, man. Fuck, this guy's crazy. No, I don't know why the 7-Eleven thing came. But it's still flying a little close to the sun for me if I'm talking about maybe Kash Patel, you just let it fly. You're like, fuck that asshole. Anyway, that was the bulk of what I wanted to react to. He does this stupid Helix ad right in the middle of it. And then I never listened to any more, but we can check it out still if you're curious.
I mean, if you think there's something worth hearing, for sure.
Well, let's see. Let's give him one more shot. I hate that he put so many fucking ads. It'll always be for that like Magic Spoon cereal or this Helix shit or something
it's
stupid.
Crazy, bro. I was trying to watch Duncan Trussell's response the other day to the elephant graveyard thing, which wasn't even a real response. He was just like trolling and being annoying about it and refusing to actually like answer to the substantive critique. Which his comment section was pissed off about, by the way. But literally every 10 minutes, there's a fucking like 2-minute long ad read. I'm like, this isn't even a podcast at this point. It's just like cable television. Like, here's 3 minutes of entertainment in between 5 minutes of ads. Like, what the fuck even is this?
Yeah, and you can tell Google AdSense isn't helping a guy like him out. Not very relevant these days. No.
It doesn't make any sense. I don't care if you hate Jimmy Kimmel. I'm pretty sure this administration, when they came in, they were talking about America first. They weren't talking about Jimmy Kimmel. But this is how they distract you from what's actually going on. Let's get rid of Jimmy Kimmel because he's pissed us off. By the way, Sam Altman, let's give him more and more money because we're in an AI arms race. Well, who does that help? Not very, I don't know, 20 people? 20 Trump voters?
Oh, we finally heard the name Donald Trump mentioned. Thank God.
Yeah.
And they were all at that dinner?
Also, I wonder what the comment section is saying.
Yeah, do you want to take a look?
Yeah, I'd be interested if because it does seem like his channel's a little bit less partisan than some of these guys. So I want to be shocked if his audience is also turning on Trump.
Let's see. It says, I don't listen to many gay Iranian podcasts, but when I do, I listen to Tim. This is not a healthy society for people with great pattern recognition. Tim is my favorite Iranian comedian.
I guess we didn't hear the Iran bit because they're referencing something.
Yeah, I am late to the Tim Dillon show. I had no idea it existed, but really appreciate this deeply closeted straight man and the work he does. I don't think he's a closeted. Oh, I think that's a joke too. Yeah, this is a troll-based audience, I guess. That makes sense with his humor style. It would be hilarious if Tim was never on the lineup for Riyadh Festival and Tim was just fucking with us the whole time. Poor Tim. He tried so hard to sell his soul. Why does it calm my anxiety when Tim Dillon talks about how we're all doomed?
Well, hey, at least his audience isn't annoying as shit like the Joe Rogan comment section we looked at. At least these people are taking in stride. They're having some fun. They're memeing up a storm. Joe Rogan's audience was like a bunch of annoying like Karens, like scolding him for even saying that Jimmy Kimmel was funny. They were like, how dare you say that Jimmy Kimmel is funny? He likes vaccines and we don't. Like, it was so fucking bitch made. At least this fucking comment section is like kind of chill.
Yeah, great monologue. No left, no right, just a bunch of criminals running everything. It was never about left versus right. It was about finding buzzwords to keep us divided as they rob us blind and slowly erode our way away our rights. Yeah, but Tim Dillon participated in that though, right? That's the thing that I just want to scream to this audience. Maybe you guys know and you're just like, yeah, Tim's a giant sellout, but he's kind of funny and he's amusing. And I'd be like, all right, you know what? He is really quick on the mic. He's very, witty. He's a smart guy, but I just know that he uses that wit to scam you guys whenever it's convenient for him. You know what I mean? He will play ball with the worst people on planet Earth and then crack a joke about why it's okay because he knows everyone has no morals. So like, it does kind of irk me a little bit, but you're right. His audience is, more normal than like Andrew Schultz or Joe Rogan or something.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess they're going to totally let him off the hook for, doing all that, pro MAGA kind of propaganda or engaging and, associating with those people. It doesn't seem like anyone's pissed at him about that. It doesn't seem like he's going to have to, pay any consequences. So I guess it's just us, woke leftists over here that actually remember who the fuck enabled this fascism to take place. And we're the only ones that actually give a fuck about holding people accountable. But, it is what it is.
Yeah. Mark Maron had a really good bit the other day about people who were going to the Riyadh Film Festival, and he was like,
Comedy Fest.
Oh yeah, I said film festival, the Riyadh Comedy Festival, and he was like, you mean you're getting paid by the guys that did 9/11? Boy, I think I'll sit this one out.
Oh God. And Mark Maron has also been going after Rogan and the whole comedy Austin, the Austin comedy scene. He made some pretty vicious jabs towards that crew the other day too. Someone in chat or someone in the comments was like, you forgot to mention Mark Maron, because I was listing off all the comedians that were like trashing the Austin scene.
Oh yeah.
Apparently he's he also went after them. So shout out to that guy. But yeah, it seems like this whole crew is in the middle of like a pivot moment where they're realizing that obviously, they're not doing like a total ideological 180. They're still like, oh yeah, we're against wokeness or whatever. Maybe I guess they're still talking about that stuff, or like trans people or something. But we can't. It's not cool to just be like a straight up Trump dick sucker anymore.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. be there.